for the wonderful Mangala. So we are in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, verse number 35, right? So you can recite the, yes, Shashwin, go on, recite the verse.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nastapradeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shlokir Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna. Mainam partarhasi tratum Brahma bandhum imam jahi Yosav annagasa suptan avadin nisibalakan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shashwin. Kumar Prabhu, would you like to recite the word to word?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Mayenam, never unto him.
Never unto him.
Partha,
O
Arjuna. Arkhasi, ought to. Tratum, give release. Brahma bandhum, a relative of Brahmana. Imam, him. Jahi, kill. Ya, he who has. Asau, those. Anagasaha, faultless. Subtain, while sleeping. Avadkit, killed. Nishi, at night. Balakan, the boys. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Let me check with Mataji if okay, she is joining. Okay, we can read the translation and purport. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Anyone wants to read the translation? Okay, let me read. Translation. Lord Sri Krishna said, "O Arjuna, you should not show mercy by releasing this relative of a Brahma Bandhu, for he has killed innocent boys in their sleep." Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Brahma Bandhu is significant. Person who happens to
Mataji, kindly unmute, or Kumar Prabhuji, kindly unmute everybody. 1 minute. Sorry.
Hare Krishna. The word Brahma Bandhu is significant. A person who happens to take birth in the family of a Brahmana but is not qualified to be called a Brahmana is addressed the relative of a Brahmana and not as a Brahmana. The son of a high court judge is not virtually a high court judge, but there is no harm in addressing a high court judge's son as a relative of the honorable justice. Therefore, as by birth only one does not become a high court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmana simply by birthright, but by acquiring the necessary qualifications of a Brahmana. As the high court judgeship is a post for the qualified man, also the post of a Brahmana is attainable by qualification only. The Shastra enjoins that if good qualifications are seen in a person born in a family other than that of a Brahmana, the qualified man has to be accepted as a Brahmana. And similarly, if a person born in the family of a Brahmana is void of Brahmanical qualification, then he must be treated as a non-Brahmana, or in better terms, a relative of a Brahmana. Lord Sri Krishna, the supreme authority of all religious principles, the Vedas, has personally pointed out these differences, and he is about to explain the reason for this in the following slokas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Can I take over, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashaipati Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Srimata Swadata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanta Stohi Putrani Vidunati Sukruttakam Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Mataji, I didn't realize that you had already joined.
Oh, no worries, Prabhuji. Perfectly fine. Okay. So I'm actually having an upcoming trip with regards to work. So I was also thinking I will try to prepone this class a little bit so that I'd have your association. So thank you so much, everyone. So we will try to see the overview first and then get to the verse for today. So that way we will understand the flow, which is very, very important. We have to keep hearing it over and over and over so that all these things get registered in our heart. That is the importance of reading and getting back to the translations. So the first 7 verses, it talks about Vyasadev's vision and glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here, Sri Saunakatha Rishis are asking, after Narada's departure, what did Vyasadev do? Sutta Goswami is replying, on the western bank of Saraswati River, in a cottage, Srila Vyasadev touched water for purification and he sat down to meditate. And then he fixed up his mind in Bhakti Yoga and saw the Supreme Lord Krishna along with his external energy, which was under his full control. Very important, dear devotees. Maya is under the control of Krishna. He is the subservient to Krishna. And he also saw the jivas, they are bewildered by Maya, the external energy consisting of 3 modes, and the living entity misidentifies himself as a product of matter, and then he suffers. So the main problem with all of us as living entities is that we are misidentification. Our misidentification with the matter at times we consider ourselves to the body, at times we consider ourselves to be the mind, and then we work on this principle, and because of this, we are entangled in the samsara, we are kind of bound in the samsara over and over and over. Okay, so this is what is happening to us. So it's very important to always remember Krishna, and that is how we can actually come out of this entanglement. Hence, it's important for us to practice this aspect of remembering Krishna all the time, so that Maya cannot attack us if we are thinking about Krishna, remembering about Krishna, doing activities for Krishna. As I told you, we have to engage our senses. Our senses are the ones that we can immediately engage in, right? I'm able to speak, I'm engaging my tongue here. So the act of engaging the senses is very important here, devotees, especially in the beginning stages where we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness consciously. When we engage the senses has no other option other than to do Krishna conscious activities. And slowly, eventually, we will also be able to engage the mind in that process, because immediately it's not possible to directly engage our mind, keep the mind engaged. It's very difficult, and hence we try to engage the senses. And once the senses have the nourishment required from Krishna consciousness, we slowly bring in the mind as well later. Okay, and now he talks about Bhakti Yoga. The sufferings of the jiva can be directly mitigated by what? Mitigated by Bhakti Yoga. But people, unfortunately, do not know this. That is why we see only a few people, right, attending this call, as opposed to so many people who are outside trying to gratify their senses. They don't have any knowledge of Krishna consciousness. They are thinking that enjoying means enjoying the body, enjoying the senses, giving pleasure to the senses. That is what is enjoyment. But there is so much bliss in Krishna consciousness, which is which people are ignorant about. But bhakti, again, as we talked about, we need bhakti sukriti in order to not be ignorant about this. We need to start off with Shraddha. We need to have bhakti sukriti. And therefore, Vyasadeva, he compiled Srimad Bhagavatam so that everybody can relish this Bhakti Yoga process. And then he talks about Bhagavatam. By giving oral reception to Bhagavatam, the feeling of Bhakti sprouts up and extinguishes lamentation, fear in the human being. So what happens as a result of the oral reception of Bhagavatam is that we are going to extinguish our lamentation, whatever lamentation, because we are tying ourselves with our body and mind, isn't it? The mind has certain emotions it wants us to dwell upon. All this is forgotten when we hear Krishna Katha. We understand our true identity, at least for the moment that we are engaged in the Krishna Katha, right? And after that, depending upon how much realization we have, we will try to dwell upon this fact for a long time. Throughout the day also it is possible. It is all in our hands. Okay. So we need to, again, it's in our hands, meaning, so how much attention are we giving to Bhagavatam? How much am I paying attention to someone saying the Krishna Katha? All that depends on our hands, isn't it? At least we do take the endeavor. And Krishna, he looks at our sincerity and he then grants, oh, this boy or girl, she's always listening to Krishna Katha with so much rapt attention. We have to give him some bliss, so that he doesn't want to leave my association. Then you will be eagerly waiting. When will the next Krishna Katha start? Okay. So this is what Krishna makes us feel and hanker for. You just taste a little bit of it. Here, I give you the preview. But the next class, oh yeah, I'm eagerly waiting for it. Again, this eagerness or this enthusiasm comes to a devotee when he doesn't commit offenses. Okay, it's very important, dear devotees. We cannot take it lightly. When we say we don't have enthusiasm, when we say we lack this, we lack that, that means somewhere we are going wrong. And the only thing that can go wrong, which Krishna will not be pleased, is offenses. So we really need to pay attention and watch out sincerely, consciously be aware. Am I trying to please Krishna? Am I trying to act as an instrument of Krishna? It's not me, I'm not acting. It's just that I'm being used as an instrument here, right? If I'm delivering something, I'm not the deliverer. Without Krishna's permission, without Krishna's sanction, without Krishna's empowerment, our Acharya's empowerment, without our Guru Vaga's empowerment, I cannot do anything on my own. It is not me. who's coming and talking to the forum. When we have this sort of mindset, then everything that follows along during the day, because we have to set our ego right. When we set our ego right the first time, then everything will follow in order. When the ego is wrong, when we have the false ego, then we identify everything as, oh, I'm the doer, I'm the enjoyer. When you think I'm the doer, the problem is the enjoyment aspect comes as a package. Yes, since I'm doing it, I have to enjoy it. But when we don't have that mood, right? When we have the mood of being the servant, that mood actually establishes and sets things right for us to proceed with our life. So that's very important. How we set our mood to start off is very, very important. Then from 8 to 11, Vyasadeva teaches Bhagavatam to who? Sukadeva Goswami. So he, having already compiled Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva revised it by giving most prominence to Krishna Bhakti and taught Bhagavatam to his self-realized son, who is Sukadeva Goswami. And then Shaunakadi rishis asked, they asked about Sukadeva Goswami. They are asking, Sukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, indifferent to everything. He was already a self-satisfied sage. Then why did he take the trouble of learning Srimad Bhagavatam, studying Srimad Bhagavatam? What is the need? He already knows he's already self-realized. He's fully satisfied in his heart. Then what is the purpose of him to study and learn Srimad Bhagavatam? For that, Sukadeva Goswami is replying, even liberated souls are very much attracted to this transcendental qualities of Lord Hari and the desire to render unalloyed devotional service onto him. So this is the glory of the transcendental qualities of Lord Hari. Okay, even though they are Atma Rama, still they are attracted to the qualities, because the transcendental qualities of Hari very much attracts everyone around. And hence they desire to actually render unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. And that is our constitutional position. Service is our constitutional position. If there is no service, we don't want to go to that place. The devotee is ready to go to even hell for that matter. Why? Because if he is given the service opportunity there in hell, he's ready for it. The pure devotee of the Lord, he's ready for it. He doesn't care. Oh, this is where I need to go. That is where I need to go. No. Right? This is the position of a devotee. He loves to serve Krishna wherever there is an opportunity. Yes, I'm being used as an instrument at the service of the Lord. When we have this mood of service attitude, then everything will be set right. And then becoming absorbed in Krishna's qualities. Sukadeva Goswami, he studied Srimad Bhagavatam. This is how he immersed, he absorbed himself into the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. He is transcendently very, very powerful and is dear to Lord's devotees. And then 12 to 16 talks about lamentation for the Pandavasan. I will now narrate about Lord Krishna, the birth and the deliverance of Maharaj Parikshit, and the renunciation of the Pandavas. At the end of the Kurukshetra war, Ashwatthama killed 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi to please Duryodhana, who was lying who is lying with his thigh broken. Duryodhana disapproved of this heinous act and he was not at all pleased. He always wanted to follow the codes of the war. Whatever that the Kshatriya's code of conduct was supposed to be, he wanted to follow through that and be loyal to those code of contacts. And here we see Ashwatthama, he was doing something whimsically. And Draupadi cried in distress and with her tears in her eyes. Arjuna spoke to pacify her. After beheading that Brahmana, I will wipe your tears. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take the bath standing on his head. This is what Arjuna promised Draupadi. Now, if you look at the verses 17 to 34, Arjuna is now going to capture Ashwatthama. Okay, guided by Krishna as the charioteer, Arjuna equipped himself with armor and weapons and set out to chase Ashwatthama. Seeing Arjuna coming with great speed, Ashwatthama fled in fear. Brahmastra. Seeing the life in danger, his horse is exhausted and finding no alternative, Ashwatthama released the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, without knowing how to retract it. He doesn't know how to retract it, but he, out of rage, released that weapon. Thereupon, a glaring light spread in all directions. Seeing his own life in danger, Arjuna addressed Lord Krishna. So now Arjuna is going to pray to Lord Krishna. And this is what will be seen in the verses 22 to 26, which is Arjuna's prayers. Mighty armed Krishna, you bestow fearlessness in devotees. Only you can give liberation to those who are burning in the fire of material existence. How we have to always think about Krishna's merciful nature. See, he is so eager that we all come to him immediately, isn't it? He's very, very eager. Oh, when will this person come back to me? When will he start to turn towards? When will this person turn towards me? Two birds are sitting, and one bird is eating the fruits, and the other bird is looking to understand when will this bird turn towards me, isn't it? So this is our soul and the Paramatma. The Paramatma is always looking out and is always watchful for the Jiva. When will this Jiva turn towards me? So we need to understand how curious is the Lord to take us all back home, back to Godhead, and engage us in the service of the Lord. He's really, really waiting very anxiously. Okay, we need to understand. And we also need to understand that when he puts the Jiva under bewilderment, that bewilderment is also compassionate nature of the Lord. So at any point in time, we cannot say, oh yeah, he's actually torturing that devotee. No, he's not torturing the devotee. Unless we get purified of our material impressions, we are not going to go to him. So he needs us to be purified, and hence he puts us through bewilderment. And this is also a compassionate nature of the Lord. Okay, so we need to understand that very important point, that whatever we go through in our life, it's all for our so as to improvement. It's all for our purification. Purification is the right word. It's all for our purification. Krishna does that, isn't it? So if we are not purified, we are not eligible to go to him. Say, for example, in the spiritual world, there is no anxiety, there is no envy. And if we are envious about some person in the material world, how will that attitude help us to go to the spiritual world? Isn't it? So we need to understand whatever is happening, that actually purifies us. It actually helps us to get and be a better person in reality. So this is the concept that we need to understand. And we should always appreciate the merciful nature of the Lord. Yes, he's merciful. Even if I'm put through lamentation, just for my purification, Krishna wants me to maybe come faster to him. That is why he's doing this, right? So this is how we take whatever happens in our life is Krishna's mercy. And then transcendental, he's actually glorifying the Lord, calling him the original person, supreme controller. He's transcendental to the material nature. He's the master of the spiritual energy who casts away Maya. And then he's always situated in eternal bliss and knowledge. And then the 24th translation actually talks about the merciful nature of the Lord. Although you are beyond Maya, you execute dharma, artha, kama, and moksha for the good of the conditioned souls. He does certain things so that we can follow through his example. He's acting as a role model and trying to help us understand how we have to actually imbibe the mood of performing a particular task. And then he's saying, you descend to remove the burden of the world, and you benefit your friends and dedicated devotees who are wrapped in meditation on you. The word wrapped is very important, right? See, when we are actually love a person, we will do anything for that person, and that includes giving attention about hearing about him also, isn't it? We want to know about him, we want to understand him so that we can please him. So this is how a devotee actually hears Krishna Katha with rapt attention. Why? Because of the love that he has for Krishna. Yes, I want to please him, and if I want to please him, then I have to know about him. I have to know what he likes, what he doesn't like, and what all the leelas he did with his different devotees and how he reciprocated with them. I would like to know all these sweetness of him. After understanding the greatness, you also understand and relish the sweetness of Krishna Katha, isn't it? This is what Arjuna is actually praying to Lord Krishna. And then Lord Krishna, how is he responding? The response is seen in 28 and 27th and 28th verse. So he says, it is the act of Ashwatthama who released the Brahmastra out of fear for his life. He doesn't know how to retract it. So the solution that Krishna gives is that, see, only another Brahmastra can actually counteract it. Therefore, subdue it with your own Brahmastra. Hearing this, Arjuna circumambulated Krishna and cast his Brahmastra. See, Arjuna's etiquette of actually circumambulating the Lord, and then he cast his Brahmastra, because he knows that the power it's Krishna's advice that is actually going to reap results. He knows that everything at the end of the day depends on Krishna. So he pays his obeisances and then he cast his Brahmastra. The effect of two Brahmastras, what happened? The great circle of fire covered the outer space and the planets. Everyone in the three worlds, they were scorched by the combined heat. Understanding the will of Krishna, Arjuna at once retracted both the Brahmastras to protect the world from destruction. It's not just about him getting destroyed. It's the entire world which is going to be affected because of this Brahmastra. And when you become advanced, you think more about others and more about the benefit of the community, more about the benefit of the community on the whole than yourself. It's just not you. So it actually, when we advance, it's just not about us advancing. It's about all others as well. This process of Krishna consciousness, everybody should advance. Everybody should know about Krishna. Nobody should be ignorant of Krishna. And even if a peer is advancing in Krishna consciousness, you have to be happy about it, because that peer of yours is going to help you, guide you. If he advances, it's going to indirectly benefit you, isn't it? Why we have to envy? This is what is being talked about here. And then arresting Ashwatthama, the 33rd and 34th verse. Arjuna, his eyes were blazing in anger. He dexterously arrested Ashwatthama and bound him with the ropes like an animal and wanted to take him back to the military camp. Lotus-eyed Krishna then spoke in an angry mood. And that is what is today's verse. Okay. So we will get to the today's verse and understand what does today's verse mean. And then we will try to actually get into the Mahabharata pastime once again. I don't think I'll be able to cover this particular aspect today. So maybe we can continue it through next week as well. So whatever I'll complete today in another half an hour, I will try to complete that Mahabharata story. I mean, not complete, but I'll partially talk about it and then continue forward in the next class as well. So, but we'll first go through the purport for today, understand some of the important takeaways, and then get into the story of Mahabharata. Okay. As Prabhuji did read the translation, the purport, I would also once again reiterate just a few points to help the concept clear. So here we should understand that the word Brahma Bandhu is significant. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So a person who happens to take birth in a family of Brahmana but is not qualified to be called as a Brahmana, as a relative of Brahmana, and not as a Brahmana. He's addressed only as a relative of Brahmana, but not as a Brahmana. He cannot be called himself as a Brahmana, because we saw in Gita what are the qualities that are required, right? I mean, Gita really illustrates, so yeah, you have to have purity, you have to not only have external purity, internal cleanliness is needed. There are qualities that are spoken about in the Gita, which actually speaks to, okay, if you are a Brahmin, then you have to have these qualities. If you don't have these qualities, then you're not considered a Brahmin. This is the point that Srila Prabhupada wants us to understand. And then he gives an example of a High Court judge. This guy, he can be addressed as High Court judge's son, as a relative of Honorable Justice. But he can be the thing is, the son of a High Court judge is not virtually a High Court judge. He can be called a judge. He has to have accumulated desirable qualifications in order to become the judge. Then he can be called a judge. But until then, he'll be called, he's son of so-and-so. Therefore, as by birth, only one does not become a High Court judge, so also one does not become a Brahmana simply by birthright. but by acquiring necessary qualifications of a Brahmana. So it's very important, dear devotees. We need to understand we may be born with, say, in a Vaishya family or a Kshatriya family or a Brahminical family or even a Shudra family. It doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, if a Shudra is able to depict the Brahminical qualifications, then he is certainly a Brahmana. This is the point that we need to understand, which Srila Prabhupada wants to very explicitly say to us, that it's just not the birthright that matters. Guna and the nature, what are the qualifications that we have, what are the qualities that we possess of a Brahmana. That is very important, isn't it? So now we need to understand that this principle is applied across the board, right? A Shudra, he can, if he has Brahminical qualifications and if he shows that, then we have to respect him as a Brahmana. So even though he is born, birth-wise, he is born as a Shudra, doesn't matter. But again, when it comes to Vaishnava, you may ask this question to me. I mean, it's a very practical question. Oh, you know what? Now that we have gotten into Krishna consciousness, our family members are expecting that we exhibit certain qualities and traits that is required of a Vaishnava. We are being criticized for us not behaving like a Vaishnava at times. Isn't this a very practical question? I mean, your family members or anybody for that matter, they may expect you to have certain qualifications because now you've gotten into this Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara and you're chanting the glories of the holy names of the Lord. You are by default expected, you can't get angry. You are chanting the names of the Lord. How can you get angry? How can you go wrong here? How can you go wrong there? So the answer to this question is that the material impressions, they don't go away immediately. They only they go only gradually. So Srila Prabhupada gives an example to say a person is in the shower and he's taking shower. So we have to wait for that person to actually complete his shower so that he'll be completely purified. So again, this process of devotional service, even though we have gotten into this movement, it definitely takes time for the material impressions to be wiped out. So this has to be understood. Persons who are ignorant of this particular fact may expect you to become a very good person overnight, but it cannot happen. This needs to be understood and this needs to be communicated to them in a right way so that they are able to give you that sufficient time for you to help advance in devotional service. So this is what is Vaishnavas, right? Vaishnavas, have to depict the good qualities, but then the material impressions, they cannot go away overnight. So what we have to do is that we have to wait constantly. I mean, we have to take it gradually. But again, we have to sincerely practice this devotional service every day. Each day is a blessing to us, and we have to actually have the determination and the eagerness to practice Krishna consciousness each and every day, each and every moment. Also, we have to relish that, and that relish can happen as long as we avoid offenses to the devotees, fellow devotees. We can definitely have that relish. We can, every devotee in every stage of life, Krishna always gives that bliss, gives that component of happiness for you to relish. So we will definitely get that at some point in time due to the mercy of Krishna and the Vaishnavas. So we just have to be conscious about avoiding aparats. I repeat this over and over because that is the only way of fall down for a devotee. Otherwise, there is no fall down. Okay, so we only though because Krishna is okay even if you do something to him, some kind of fault here and there. Oh yeah, you didn't do the deity worship properly. He doesn't care. He'll probably excuse you. He's fine with that. But he's not fine when somebody is attached to him and you kind of trouble that person who's attached to Krishna, then that's when the problem comes. Okay, we need to be really, really cautious of that. So here, Brahma Bandhu is the word that is used. Arjuna, you should not show mercy on this Brahma Bandhu, for he has killed your innocent boys in their sleep. So you cannot definitely support this Ashwatthama. Okay, you have to do something about it, which is what Krishna clarifies in the 35th verse. And then the 36th verse will talk about how he violated the codes of religious war, how Ashwatthama actually violated the codes of religious war. So this set of verses is very important because it will give you the context of what is the overall picture of the Srimad Bhagavatam 7th chapter, first canto 7th chapter. So please pay attention to the further verses to come to understand the whole context of what is Srila Prabhupada trying to teach us through this. Okay, so for now, we will probably stop here with regards to the purport and translations, and then we'll try to go to the story of Mahabharata to get a deeper understanding. What is the need for us to know Mahabharata, someone may ask. This actually gives us all the necessary information as to why Ashwatthama did what he did. Okay, so when we understand it from that perspective, we will get a even further vision of what this entails. Okay, so that is the reason I'm bringing up this story on Mahabharata. So give me a minute, please. Just checking to see if somebody's wanting me in the office. But yeah, thank you. All right, so let's get into the story of Mahabharata now. And please let me know if you have any questions later on after we kind of finish through this. So so last week when I came here, I talked about Drona, and so we actually understood Drona and Drupada's relationship, and we sort of understood how that context was pertaining to Mahabharata. And today I want to actually talk about why Ashwatthama did what he did. Okay, and this is a quite long narration, so as to speak. So what I will do is I will take it in two parts. Maybe today's class I will cover some, and then next class I can cover something more than what we covered today. This is what I will do. So now Krishna, he appears in Srimad Bhagavatam. We all know Krishna went out in the chariot with Arjuna, and Krishna was there with Arjuna all the time, isn't it? Now Krishna is saying Krishna is telling Arjuna to actually kill Ashwatthama. Kill him. The lotus-eyed Lord is saying, kill Ashwatthama. So this is the first time. In the sense, Krishna, he's appearing in a very ferocious, angry mood in Srimad Bhagavatam, and then asking Arjuna to kill Ashwatthama. So we usually see Krishna in the form of a cowherd boy who plays the flute, who dances around with the gopis, whose hair is decorated like a peacock feather. So this is the appearance of Krishna in a very terrible form, we can say, isn't it? Again, we need to understand that. So we have to understand the greatness of Krishna to relish the sweetness of Krishna. So the most important themes in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is the principle of dharma, or the principles of righteousness. So which are violated all the time in Kali Yuga. Nothing is left, in fact. We violate all the principles of righteousness. So we live in a period where there is no concept of righteousness, so as to speak. So, so through this, what can we learn? We can learn that we've lost all this concept of righteousness in this age of Kali. So now, if you go back to the battle, the battle we know lasted for 18 days. There was a battle in the field of Kurukshetra. In the first 10 days, the Kaurava army was led by who? Bhishma. Then for the 5 days, the army was led by Drona. Then Drona killed, we all know how Drona was killed. Drona was killed by Drishtadyumna. That's what we saw last week. Then for 2 days, this army was commanded by Karna, who became the commander-in-chief. And then the last day of the battle, Shailya, he became the commander-in-chief. But the most recent commander-in-chief, if you ask who that person is, he is Ashwatthama. And he was crowned by Duryodhana when Duryodhana was laying with his back broken. That is what we saw here. With his thigh broken, Duryodhana was there, and Ashwatthama was given that's why he was given the commander-in-chief position. And he was actually crowned by Duryodhana. So these 18 days of terrible battle, in the end, Duryodhana found himself completely alone. Actually, he had no one left by his side. The warriors were all scattered around somewhere. Out of 11 Akshohinis, out of thousands, see, only if you look at the Duryodhana's army, there were thousands and thousands of warriors. But now what is the status? Only a handful of them remained. So he didn't actually see a single warrior who was actually with him. No one, when Duryodhana was looking around, he could just see a handful of warriors, and he could not see anybody whom he could actually rely upon. He could not even see one single warrior and say, yeah, this is the person I rely. No, he couldn't see. So there are three great generals, Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, and Kripacharya. All the three, what happened? They ran away. And Duryodhana also decided to run away from the battle because he didn't know what to do. While on the other side, there were thousands of warriors. Pandavas, they had thousands of men, several hundred elephants, chariots, and they were actually celebrating their victory. And these Pandavas, they were waiting to catch Duryodhana because the last minute, Duryodhana escaped somewhere. And these people, they were all looking, oh, I need to actually find Duryodhana. And Duryodhana, he was a very unusual person. He possessed very mystical powers. He had a lot of mystical powers. And one of the mystical powers or his abilities is called Shailya-Stamba. That is, with the help of this power, what he can do is he can harden the water. He can make solid things out of water. So when Duryodhana happened to recite a particular mantra, this lake that he was seeing nearby, it became solid. And because of this, what happened was he actually went inside the lake and built a house of solid water. So on the surface, it seemed as if it was liquid, but inside everything was fine. Inside there was a house he could rest upon. So he thought, oh yeah, you know what, I need to take rest. These Pandavas are troubling me so much. I need to have some strength to fight with them. How long I can keep on fighting with them? I need some rest. So let me just go inside the particular house which I have constructed in the water and let me take some rest. And then I will get some energy to fight with the Pandavas. And meanwhile, what happened was there were three generals remaining, right? I told you Ashwatthama, Kritavarma, and Kripacharya. So Kritavarma was actually leading the army now. So before the start of Kurukshetra, Duryodhana and Arjuna came to Krishna. We all know they came to Krishna to ask for something. Krishna said, choose whatever you want. And Duryodhana, he requests, Arjuna first said, Krishna, I want you. And Duryodhana said, I want your army. So along with the army of Kritavarma, the great warrior from Dwaraka began to fight on the side of Duryodhana. So he got Kritavarma. And we know Kritavarma, Kripacharya, and Kripacharya, we know he is the teacher of martial arts. And Ashwatthama, he is the son of Dronacharya. So these three, they were wandering around together and they were looking out for Duryodhana. Where did this Duryodhana go? Where did he go? We really don't know. At the same time, Yudhishthira, along with his Pandava army, they were also searching for Duryodhana. Duryodhana, we all know, he has hidden in the shore on his lake. And he was hidden inside the lake. And Ashwatthama and Kripa and Kritavarma, they actually found out, hey, this Duryodhana is hiding here. They were able to realize that. And they began to say, Duryodhana, come out, let's fight. We are for you. We are there for you. You're a great warrior. Come out. Don't be afraid of anything. And then Ashwatthama screamed. So what happened is whenever Ashwatthama spoke, his voice was so resonant, that like that of a horse. It was resonating. And Duryodhana said, see, I'm not afraid of anything. As you think, you don't call me, I'm a coward or anything like that. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm just tired. Can you please leave me alone for some time? This is what I'm asking you. Can you please leave me alone? At this time, the hunters were passing by. They heard these three warriors talking to Duryodhana, who's inside the lake and who was hiding below. And now Yudhishthira Maharaj, he came along and with his Pandava army, And he was also searching. Looking at these people searching, the hunters thought, oh, and actually Duryodhana inquired from these hunters, have you seen Duryodhana? The hunter said, so we didn't, we didn't see Duryodhana, but we kind of realized, have a feeling, and understand that he's around here and we can tell you where he is. These hunters actually thought that if we tell Bhima about this, about Duryodhana, he's going to give us so much wealth. So we don't have to work, keep going for hunting, finding, killing animals. We don't have to do all this for the rest of the days because Bhima will definitely give us a lot of wealth. So they were thinking to actually reveal where Duryodhana was hiding to Bhima. So now the hunters, they were delighted with their luck and they went to the camp of the Pandavas. They were not allowed there, but they said, we have an important message for Bhima. Then they took this news to Bhima. They said, we know where Duryodhana is hiding. He's hiding in the bottom of the lake and I'll show you where the lake is. And now Bhima actually told to Yudhishthira. And we have found Duryodhana. He is hiding at the bottom of a lake. And then a small army was sent to the shore of the lake. And Ashwatthama with Kripa and Kritavarma heard that the Pandavas were going to come there to the lake, and they decided to go somewhere and hide themselves in the forest. They thought, oh yeah, this is not a good idea. We have to go and hide ourselves somewhere else. The Pandavas, they approached the lake and Yudhishthira actually stepped forward. And Krishna was the head of the Pandavas, but out of respect for Yudhishthira, who should be the crown king, Krishna asked him to speak. And because of Krishna's orders, Yudhishthira began to speak. Hey Duryodhana, what are you doing at the bottom of the lake? After all your army is dead. Is it worthy of you to hide somewhere at the bottom of the ocean? Is it worthy? Duryodhana said, oh, no, I'm not hiding or I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid. I'm just tired. Just leave me alone. I'll take care of all of this tomorrow morning. I intend to fight with you and all your armies tomorrow morning. And Yudhishthira, of course, he did not calm down. Hey, Duryodhana, come out now, come out. So Duryodhana, now here, of course, upon calling Duryodhana began to insult everyone around. Again, as usual, that's what Duryodhana does. And he said, you know what? Take this land. I don't need it. Who needs this land? It's now a widowed land. All the Kshatriyas are killed. The earth is no more having any kind of husband. May you rule this widowed land. I've ruled this land when it was full of strength, when it prospered. And now I leave this land to yourself. And I will go to the forest. Take this land. This land has nobody here. I will put on the skin of a deer and become a hermit. And this is what I will do. I don't have any problems. Now, upon hearing this, Yudhishthira was hurt. The blood of Kshatriya sparkles in him, isn't it? He said, my dear, do you want me to give this land? Now it's too late. When I asked you to just give me 5 villages, you did not give me. Remember, I asked you for this and you said, I'm not going to give you even a pin. I'm not going to give you. So this is what you told me. And now you're telling me you give me all this land. No, thank you. Who are you to give anyway? You have no right to give. So because we are in the verge of the battlefield and we are about to become victorious. And who are you to give the land now to us? This is not, this is what Yudhishthira communicated to Duryodhana. Come out and just fight with us. And he's telling now a very important statement. Yudhishthira is telling Duryodhana, I promise you, even if you kill one of us, then you will become a king. Even if you kill one of us, this is a very important statement, dear devotees. So Yudhishthira is actually saying, even if you kill one of us, then you become a king. We will become your slaves. Choose any of us. Fight with us. Anyone, just choose and you will become a king if you defeat that person. And I'm also giving you another choice, says Yudhishthira here. You can choose a weapon you want to fight with. Any weapon of your choice. No problem. Pick a weapon and we are ready to fight with you with that weapon. Krishna grabbed his head when he heard this. He said, never again we should let this man negotiate. What is he doing? We fought for 18 days. I went out of my way to ensure victory for all of you, so that you become the winners. And now Yudhishthira is going and telling Duryodhana, just fight, choose anyone, and if you kill one of them, you will become a king. Now, upon hearing this, Duryodhana, he jumped out of the lake, holding his club in his hands. I will fight with my club. Krishna approached Yudhishthira and he said, what are you doing? Now he will fight with a club, and no, not a single person in this whole earth could defeat if he fights with a club. Not a single person we could defeat, who could defeat Duryodhana if he fights with a club. He's so good at club. Duryodhana, he was still bleeding. So he was still bleeding, and Krishna meanwhile told Yudhishthira, put Bhima out. So I have no certainty Bhima is going to win, but we know Bhima is stronger. But Duryodhana, again, if you look at it from the perspective, he's more skilled to fight with a club. Duryodhana, he fights better with a club, actually. That's what Krishna said. Because both, again, if you look at how they learned this art, both of them, Bhima and Duryodhana, learned this art of fighting with a club from whom? Balaram. But Duryodhana practiced this art for 13 years. He practiced all the techniques of art of fighting with a club on the statue. Very nicely, he practiced it with the statue and he mastered it perfectly. So this is what he did. And Bhima said, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I will definitely take care of them. My club now, it is 1.5, I mean, it is very much heavier than his club. What can he do against my club? I really am very confident that I can definitely defeat Duryodhana. So at that time, he has to have this attitude of a Kshatriya, isn't it? To fight with Duryodhana, Bhima has to have that Kshatriya spirit in him. So he first started to insult Duryodhana. Bhima began to shout, hey, you rascal, you remember the day when Draupadi was pulled out by Dushasan? She was having her periods and she was not supposed to be in the front of so many noble warriors in the assembly hall, but you dragged her out and began to undress her. Do you remember that day? Do you remember how you pulled your dhoti and showed her to sit on your hips? Do you remember that very moment? At that time, I promised that I would break your thighs. And today is the time that I will kill you. I will make sure you meet your death. So after that, Duryodhana also got angry and he said, I will kill you all one by one. First, Yudhishthira said, it's enough for me to kill one person, but I'm not going to leave you. Kill just one person. I'm going to kill everyone. I'm going to kill all of you for that matter. Because all of you have killed all the warriors of Kaurava army in a very dishonest way. You're all cowards. That is why you have killed everyone in a dishonest way. You killed Bhishma dishonestly. You killed Drona dishonestly. You killed Karna dishonestly. And now you will fight with me and I'm going to defeat all of you. Not just one I'm going to kill. I'm going to kill all of you. So at the moment when there was, when they were inflaming each other in order to prepare themselves properly for the battle, at that time Balaram appeared. Balaram was on a pilgrimage. He went around all the holy places for 42 days. And he came up, he was just nearby in Kurukshetra. And Narada Muni came to him and said, Balaram, there it is. The two of your disciples are actually fighting with a club. And you must see it. This is what Narada Muni said. Then everyone rejoiced. Duryodhana rejoiced it the most. Yudhishthira came up and everyone began to glorify. And for a while, they actually forgot their enmity. They began to greet Balaram due to that. And Balaram said, here, you must not fight. You must not fight. We must actually go to Samanta Panchaka because that is the battlefield. This place of Samantaka Panchaka is the holiest place in Kurukshetra. And anyone who dies there, Balaram saying that they will go straight to heaven. So we must go there. And then everyone went to Samanta Panchaka, Duryodhana, Bhishma and Yudhishthira. They approached again again, they grabbed their clubs and they began to start fighting. They fought so that the earth shook and no one could win. So one struck the other actually threw the club, the other was doing something, the clubs collided, and then they had some blood also smeared over the body. It looked like the mountains were covered with blood, and everyone looked at them and kind of rejoiced. At that moment, Duryodhana came up and he hit Bhima with his all might, so that Bhima becomes dumbfounded. And only Krishna understood what had happened, what Duryodhana did to Bhima. Bhima was almost killed. Even Duryodhana did not understand this, but Bhima didn't show it out. Externally, he didn't show it out. He stood without showing his might, but he was completely blown out. Arjuna began to ask Krishna, tell me what happened, what is happening? And Krishna said, if he fights honestly, he will never defeat him. If he follows the rules, he will never be able to defeat Duryodhana. He will not only he'll be killed, everybody else will be killed. So what I'm suggesting is that he must actually strike Duryodhana below the belt. And this is completely forbidden in club fight. Arjuna was actually delighted to hear this and began to wave his hand to Bhima and beat his left thigh, so that Bhima understands left thigh, like that. He began to beat and he began to show it in action to Bhima. He suddenly remembered that Bhima himself made a promise, remember, to break Duryodhana's thighs. So at that moment, he made a huge leap into the sky. He jumped high and then fall back, crushing below the club of his. At that moment, Bhima actually broke his thighs. Duryodhana just went up high and was going to, crush Bhima. At that time, Bhima actually broke the thigh of Duryodhana. Duryodhana collapsed on the ground. And then the Pandavas all shouted, Jai, Haribol, Haribol. And Bhima in joy ran up to the defeated Duryodhana and kicked him on his head. Actually, this is not supposed to be done. Kicking on the head is not supposed to be done. Everyone froze in horror because this is not done to a defeated enemy. Already he's defeated. He's laying on the ground, unable to move. To a defeated enemy, you don't cause any further harm. Okay, the enemy has already been killed. He is defeated. So we are not supposed to do anything more than what is required. So Bhima, again, he did this. And he began to dance and rejoice, saying, today is the happiest day in my life. And now we see Balram seeing all this, right? He got enraged and he turned red and he started to shout. And this episode we will see in the next class maybe. And this will eventually help us to understand why Ashwatthama did what he did. That is why I'm bringing up the story. So many intricate details are there and how Krishna is actually helping his fellow devotees to actually what all Krishna does to his devotee is something we can understand through this pastime as well. So I just thought it will be an interesting segment to bring it forward to the group. So I just happened to, I think I just may have finished half of it. Maybe the next class we can complete the rest of the half after going through the purport of the required verse. Thank you, dear devotees, for your time. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for this wonderful class and of course the nice Mahabharata story which you narrated. It was so interesting, and then it was so gripping story. So thank you, Mataji, for that. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions, comments? So Mataji, I had this. Okay, when you were narrating Bhima and Duryodhana's fighting, so he was not supposed to hit below the thigh, but he Bhima attacked below the thigh and then eventually caused injury and death of Duryodhana. But Krishna approved it. So people outside we talk about that Krishna approved this, dishonesty, and then, he encouraged Bhima to go out of the war rules. So they often talk these things about it. So I just wanted to have some clarification on that. Mataji.
Yes. A very good point, Prabhuji, that you bring. This is a very common doubt that people will have. And why did Krishna do what is required? So at the end of the day, Krishna wants to give a very important message. If you look at Yudhishthira, last week I happened to tell you the story about Yudhishthira not wanting to tell a lie because he was so much attached to dharma. So when it comes to a devotee, it doesn't matter. All this dharma, adharma, all these things. In fact, Manasiksha verse number 2 helps us to understand that Raghunath Goswami is helping us understand this particular important principle, that it is not for a devotee, he has to actually change the mindset of operating dharma, adharma. No, this is not what a devotee should operate on. The devotee should actually change his mindset and change the mindset from dharma, adharma to pleasing the Lord and not pleasing the Lord. So if Krishna wants us to do what is required at that particular situation, that particular act, it becomes it becomes the truth, because Krishna wants us to do. So for pleasing Krishna, anything can be done. That is what a devotee's mood is. He doesn't care whether this is right. Oh, is it dharmically right? It is not dharmically right. Again, from a karma shastra, dharma shastra perspective, we say this is right and that is right. But for us, we just go by bhakti. What pleases Krishna? What doesn't please Krishna? If something pleases Krishna, I am just not going to be attached to whatever I am attached to. Like in the case, Yudhishthira was attached to him speaking the truth and he didn't want to tell a lie. But Krishna, he wanted Yudhishthira to tell Drona that your son Ashwatthama is killed. So when he said Ashwatthama the elephant was killed, that time the conchs blew very, very high, so that he could hear only Ashwatthama was killed, but the elephant part was not heard at all, isn't it? So this is what we have to understand, Prabhuji, that from a bhakti perspective, we just have to care about what pleases Krishna and what doesn't please Krishna. Avoid things that are pratikul for Krishna consciousness and do things that are favorable for Krishna consciousness. And this is how a devotee looks at it. So again, why did Krishna do what it is? This act is approved. It is for a higher good. What is the higher good? The higher good is that when the Pandavas are established as a king, they will act as great role models. And all these people who are suffering from the cycle of samsara, that is birth, death, old age, and disease, what will happen to them? They will all become Krishna consciousness and they will go back to Krishna, which is a higher good. And for higher good, anything is possible. Anything can be done. If somebody has to be brought to Krishna consciousness, then anything can be done. This is for a higher good that Krishna is doing what he's doing. So in order to please Krishna, we have to give up our attachment towards dharma, adharma, and do what is pleasing to Krishna and avoid things that are not favorable for Krishna. This is what Manasiksha verse number 2, Raghunath Das Goswami brings up this point very, very clearly, and he helps us understand what is important for a devotee. And the whole act is done so that we have a higher regime. We have good people ruling the country. When good people rule the country, they act as role models, and because they act as role models, all the others will also be into this process of bhakti. And this will help them come out of the eternal suffering that they are going through. Right? This is the point that is trying to be established by the act of Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Are there any? I can see Sandhya Mataji asking question. Hare Krishna Mataji, how long can? Okay, just let me read it. How long can material impressions take to go? Example, anger, addictions, etc. from this and previous life.
Yes. So again, so we have to wait till the stage of Nishtha. after so Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, and Nishtha. So when we establish ourselves in the stage of Nishtha, what is Nishtha? Nishtha is the steadiness in devotional service. So what happens in that stage is that that stage actually the modes of ignorance and passion will come down. I mean, significantly it will come down, and you'll be established in the mode of goodness at that particular stage. And hence, a devotee hankers to get into the state of steadiness at the stage of Nishtha. So for that, you have to, Anartha Nivriti, what happens is that most of anarthas are gone when the Anartha Nivriti stage is completed. It's not that it's completely gone. So most of the anarthas are gone. And then we establish ourselves in the steady state of devotional service. And when we come to the stage of Nishtha, there the mode of passion and ignorance don't act on us very much. We are firmly situated on the path of devotional service. In that time, our past bad habits, they don't trouble us, and all this anger and everything is due to mode of passion, isn't it? So that time, that is why we need to hanker to get to the stage of steadiness, which is Nishtha. It's very, very difficult to actually come to Nishtha because so much purification needs to be done. It is, and it's a gradual process. But depending upon how serious we are on the sadhana, again, mercy descends down according to that level, right? I mean, it's all reciprocation at the end of the day. Depending upon our endeavor, Krishna sees our endeavor, and then he reciprocates back accordingly. So we need to wait patiently, but we have to actually get to the stage of Nishtha to be free from all this. I mean, that is the first step. And from Nishtha, actually, it's easier to go to Ruchi, Ashakti, and Ruchi, Ashakti, it is easy from Nishtha, but to get to Nishtha, it's kind of hard. So devotee hankers for that only, get that steadiness in devotional service. So there are so many stages in unsteady devotional service as well. I mean, which is talked about in Madhurya Kadambini very nicely. We have to actually, it's very long lecture, but then to keep it short, Nishtha is the stage. Okay.
Thank you,
And some other class, I'll definitely go through what is this Anishtita Bhajana Kriya. There is so much unsteadiness that is happening in our bhakti, and what are the different stages. It is interesting to know, because only when we know what is that, we'll be able to come out of it. So I'll definitely try to tackle it in one of our classes and just give a brief overview, if not a longer one.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hope that answered, Mataji. Sandhya Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think there are no further questions.
Mataji, sorry, the time is already up. I could probably ask you the question tomorrow, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji, no problem.
Hare Krishna Mataji. If there are no other questions or comments, I would like to ask Parth Prem Prabhu to end the session. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for your nice class. Also, recap the previous verses and also narrations from Mahabharata. It's recall again what we heard or read before it can just come our memory. Thank you very much. It's nothing to say more because Mataji is very clearly mentioned how the war was began and how it has happened and how Duryodhana was killed by Bhimsen and broken his thigh, everything. So thank you very much, Mataji, once again. Also, thanks all the devotees who joined here. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of our grace. Radhika Kasturi Mataji, please join. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama
Hare Hare.
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो
नमो नमः
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय।
Thank you,
हर
Mataji.
राधिका माता जी की जय।
जय।
All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Just very quickly, I'll just drop to your text message, wondering if you